Right here?
We're live on YouTube,
Yeah.
and we will be live on
Okay.
IG. We're live on IG.
Oh,
Hey everyone in Instagram Live and YouTube Live. It's Dan
and Oksana.
from Atlas Lens Co. And we're here today on a beautiful Tuesday in rainy California.
It's sunny here at Atlas Lens Co.
It's always sunny when the Atlas team is here with us. So um, I have one question for you. How did you do on the Oscar pool this year?
Actually, I did pretty well. I didn't win, but yeah, I did. I had, I think, 14 or 15 points out of, yeah. So,
Well, I have to say my favorite film of the year swept the Oscars. Everything Everywhere All at Once was such a heartwarming, amazing, fascinating, inspiring movie for me, and I just got to see it in theatrical re-release the other weekend. So, what a treat to see such an amazing group of filmmakers and talents showcased in
yeah,
such an amazing and intriguing way and inspiring.
yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love the film as well, and the fact that Atlas Lenses were involved, like, I guess it was even closer to the heart.
That's a
So,
bonus, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
for
like
sure.
the bonus. Yeah.
So today we have Obi producing our Instagram and YouTube live stream. Everyone give a thank you and shout out to Obi. We've got Matt running the Alexa Mini LF, and Oksana and I are being filmed with a Mercury Series 42 millimeter. Something I want to bring up as a key topic before we dig into the stream too much today is a lot of our team are down under, as they say, in Australia and New Zealand right now, and they're visiting people in Sydney at the
Mhm.
moment. So DeSalle, Eric Hall, and our good friend Nar Livoni are traveling the continent and New Zealand, showcasing the Orion series lenses, the Mercury series lenses, and they're powered in part by Red Digital Cinema with a Raptor XL camera and a Komodo camera.
Mhm.
So they're out doing filming, introducing people to the product, and touring. So if you're in Australia or New Zealand, be sure to reach out if you need guidance on where to meet with our team. And if you have suggestions about where to meet you in your town or things that you think we should be doing, please reach out. Let us know who we should get in touch with, who we should contact. We're going to be doing some events with Lamac, Australia. We're going to be doing some events with the ACS for their drop in night. And we're really excited to be exploring uh, Australia and New Zealand. So hope to see you there soon, and look out for our team. We're coming to your town.
Yeah, and if you visit in Australia and in between sightseeing, um, if you want to come check out the Mercury series and Atlas lenses, just email us at info@atlaslensco.com and we'll help you find our team at the event that they are um, exhibiting. Yeah.
Super cool. So what are we going to talk about today, Oksana? I think we have some questions from people out in the world, or maybe you had some
Yeah.
questions. What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, we have people have been asking different questions about the Mercury series, and I and you always available to answer, and I'm glad that I caught you today. So let's go into the most common question. I'm gonna tell you how I was asked that question. A lot of students also that have not experienced anamorphic lenses yet, they reach out and they say, I am absolutely new to anamorphic world. I haven't tried anamorphic lenses yet. Can you tell me what would be equivalent to spherical, the anamorphic 36 and anamorphic 42? So could you explain that concept a little bit?
Yeah, I think I can give you a little more than that even. So the best way that I like to talk about anamorphic lenses is first talking about why choose an anamorphic lens over a spherical lens. So one of the key reasons you would choose an anamorphic lens in today's world is not only the aesthetic choice of how the image is created. Essentially, an anamorphic lens gives you more horizontal field of view for the given focal length than the vertical field of view. And in the case of the Mercury series, you get 1.5 times more horizontal field of view than you would with a spherical lens. And with the Orion series, you get 2 times more horizontal field of view than the vertical field of view for your focal length per lens. And the reason that concept was initially created is that in movie theaters, they would show films on film. So you'd shoot a film, they'd do the editorial, they'd make release prints, and then show the film by projecting a film strip. And they wanted to show widescreen movies, but it's a lot more complicated technically to make a widescreen film strip. And so the way that they came up with a technical solution for that was to use traditional square rectangular film, but use anamorphic lenses to capture a wide angle field of view, compress it down onto a square piece of film, and then in projection, take that square piece of film where everyone's looking skinny, and then expand it back out. And the reason we like anamorphic lenses today is for the aesthetic qualities that those technical attributes create. So the kind of anamorphic lenses that we make use cylindrical optics to do that. And so there's cylindrical optics are glass that is curved in only one axis, whereas a spherical lens is rotationally symmetrical. It's a spheroid shape, and the glass that creates the anamorphic effect in an Atlas lens is cylindrically shaped, like the side of a can or the side of this lens. And so what that does is bend the light rays and distort them, and that distortion actually can create desirable qualities in terms of storytelling. You get more story for any given frame. So taking that from sort of the why into the how and how that affects us in a practical sense, the easiest way to think about an anamorphic lens's focal length is that your focal length number relates to the vertical field of view. So if you had a red Komodo camera and you had a 35 or 36 millimeter spherical lens, your vertical angle of view will be the same with this Mercury lens. Your horizontal angle of view, you can take that number and divide it by 1.5. So 36 divided by 1.5 gives you effectively a 24 millimeter.
Wow.
So horizontally, it's seeing as much as a 24 millimeter lens would. And so you get that wide angle field of view with a relatively tighter vertical field of view. And this becomes more exaggerated and more apparent in something like an Orion series, where you have something like, let's say, an 80 millimeter lens. So with an 80 millimeter lens, that's a telephoto focal length. But what's amazing is that because you have twice as wide of a horizontal field of view, it's equivalent horizontally to a 40 millimeter lens. And a 40 millimeter lens is a wide angle. So you have a telephoto lens with all the telephoto properties in terms of depth of field and the way that the image falls off with wide angle perspective. So it's a telephoto quality of lens with a wide angle perspective at the same time. And that's such a magical and unique aspect of anamorphic lenses that make them special, because you can capture more in the frame, so more picture elements happen. You can have people in the background doing things, you can have people in the foreground doing things, and tell multiple planes of story at any given time. But you get that telephoto perspective in terms of framing, so you can create sort of a box within which the actors or the events taking place in the scene can happen that let you tell the story in a different way visually.
It's almost like benefit of two lenses. Like,
it's a great way to put it. It's like having two lenses in one.
Oh, so anamorphic is actually better than spherical.
You know, so? I don't like to say better because, to be honest, I still love spherical lenses. I mean, I'm a lens nerd. I love all the lenses.
Yes.
But if I had to choose just one type of lens, I would choose an anamorphic lens.
Awesome. How about the 42? So the 36 is about 20. What was the
math? So yeah, you take the focal length number and then you divide it by the anamorphic coefficient. So for a Mercury series lens, it's a 1.5 times coefficient. So 36 divided by 1.5 is 24. Now we'll talk about the 42. And so, I will add another confusing variable in there just to make it more interesting. So a lot of the things that people think about is maybe I'm using something like a Sony FX30, or I'm using something like a Red Komodo where it has a Super 35 imager compared to what's traditionally a photographic medium format, medium, format, um, 36 by 24, which people call full frame.
Mm-hmm.
So over the last 13 or 14 years, with the advent of full-frame DSLRs that can shoot video and moving into newer cameras like a Sony Venice or a Kinefinity Mavo Edge or Arri LF, we now have full-frame or LF in the Arri nomenclature sensors that are tall and wider than a 35 millimeter movie format. And so we call that either full frame LF or VistaVision, depending on which system you're thinking of. And you have a larger imager or a larger film plane. With that larger dimensionality of the film plane, you're capturing more field of view.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, the lens is always going to stay the lens. So a 42 millimeter lens is always a 42 millimeter lens. But a 42 millimeter lens is a more close-up picture when you're shooting on a smaller format. So if you're shooting on something like a Komodo, you can take that 42 millimeter lens and know that with a spherical 42, you're getting the same vertical field of view, and horizontally, you're getting more by a factor of 1.5 times. And then if you take that same 42 millimeter lens and you go to a Red Raptor, which is a VistaVision sensor, for the most part, you're getting more vertically because the sensor is bigger, so your picture's larger field of view, and horizontally also larger because it's just a bigger imager. And a great way to look at a direct comparison between the different imager sizes and how that affects your field of view, I can highly recommend Phil Holland's website, phfx.com. There's two essential tools that will make this very relatable and very visual for you. One is called Shot Prep, and that's great for looking at one camera and one lens at a time. So you can go in and type in, I'm using a Red Raptor, I'm recording in 16 by 9 mode, and I'm using a 42 millimeter. And the calculator that he's created will spit out your angle of view horizontally and vertically for that sensor with a 1.5 or 2 times anamorphic lens, like a Mercury series or an Orion series, for example. And you'll get a direct angle of view comparison. And the other tool, besides Shot Prep, which is that tool, is called Format Compare. So Format Compare will let you easily put two camera formats side by side. So for instance, you can see the direct difference between a Red Komodo in 16 by 9 mode, which is great for any of the Mercury series, and a Red Raptor in 16 by 9 mode. Or you can compare, say, an Alexa LF against a Red Raptor with the same, recording aspect ratio, but the different sensor formats. So that gets really confusing. The best way I could put it for you is check out that tool, number one, and then become familiar with your personal camera or camera in prep. If you're renting the camera, spend time prepping, shoot some tests.
Spend time prepping.
Prep is essential, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we had to do it this morning. So big thanks to Obi and Matt for doing the prep while I was in another meeting, and thanks Roxana for helping wrangle us all together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, prep number one, and two, just become familiar with your camera's format, whether you're renting it or you own it, and then you can understand more quickly the way that those different focal lengths will relate to the size of the image that you're creating. And even formats that are analogous are often different. So something like an Alexa Classic in 16 by 9 mode is a different size sensor than a Komodo in 16 by 9 mode.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
But don't let the numbers dictate what you do. I mean, at the end of the day, all of this helps us tell the story. So just try to understand the tools as best you can while also telling the story. That's the number one thing.
And having the right tools is a very important aspect.
Very fair point. Yes. So hopefully that helps. And drilling into the 42 to answer your question originally, a 42 with a 1.5 anamorphic coefficient has the horizontal field of view of a 28 millimeter.
I already
So,
mentally calculated that while you were
ah,
talking.
nice, nice. Well, you should have told me. Remind me what I
It's
I
okay.
can't
I
remember.
was just wanted to make sure that I wasn't wrong.
Good, you got it. So hopefully that answers your question, Oksana. Was there another question you wanted to dig into, or should we get into some audience questions today?
Well, let me just on another topic, not exactly another topic, but I had another question about adapters. For people that have camera in RF with RF mount, we know that Mercury and PL. How can they use? Can you
Oh, that's a
recommend any
super
adapters?
question. Yeah, so to reiterate Oksana's question, maybe someone's using something like a Canon C70 or a Canon R5C or a Red Komodo or a Red Raptor, all of which have a awesome RF mount by Canon. This is a great mount because it's a mirrorless mount.
Mm-hmm.
And with a mirrorless camera system, it's so easy to adapt to PL. And that's why we built all of the Mercury lenses with a PL mount, because then you can own one lens, and then depending on whether you're renting a camera or you've switched cameras, and maybe this year you're using a Fuji X-H2S, and next year you want to try something different like a Panasonic Lumix
Mm-hmm.
S5 2X, just for example. You're switching it up. Or you're doing one job here and then you're going to do one job there.
Mm-hmm.
We made the Mercury lenses with a PL mount because we believe this is a future resistant mount that will travel with you throughout your career. So if you're starting with a mirrorless camera this year and next year you've got a fashion campaign that wants to shoot 35 millimeter film. So this year you're shooting a commercial with a Komodo, and next year you're shooting, or next month hopefully, because I want everybody out there to get more and more jobs and do more and more filming, grow your career, make beautiful films and content, and have fun. Um, this is a lens that can travel with you no matter what camera system you're using,
Mm-hmm.
and it just comes down to if you need an adapter, getting the right adapter for the base camera system. So to directly answer your question, the best thing to do is get an RF to PL mount adapter. Some of my personal favorites are C7 adapters from Poland. I own a lot of those adapters personally. I use them a lot. Another very popular one is Metabones. Um, there are so many. Wooden Camera makes some really good ones. Tilta makes some really nice ones. Uh, Kipper Tie makes some amazing ones that have built-in ND filters. Red just introduced their own RF to PL mount that really locks into the body and is like a very excellent native solution.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Holland just did a video about that. So if you haven't seen it, check out his brief overview of the new RF to PL mount adapters from Red, because I think those are really high quality ones.
And if you can't find it, email me and I'll help you find it.
Oh, thanks, Oksana. That's great.
Absolutely.
So yeah, does that answer the question pretty well?
Yes, thank you so much. So just get an adapter and it's pretty easy, right? You don't have to change any mounts or anything. That's
You just switch it.
yeah.
And then, previously, if you go back and look at our previous live streams, Eric and I did one about using a DENS FDC tool. The DENS FDC is a tool that will let you make sure that the back focus of your adapter or your camera is within precision tolerances so that you get the best image quality and your focus marks line up better.
Thanks for mentioning that. That's a very important part too. Yeah.
Yeah, really great tool. And then another question, just to springboard off that,
Um,
people ask a lot about focal reducers, or what is commonly called a speed booster. So if you have a sensor format that's like, say, a Red Komodo, but you want it to be larger, like the VistaVision Red format, people often use like a Metabones speed booster, which is an optical group that takes the light rays that are coming in from the lens and reduces them down to a smaller size, effectively giving you the performance of a larger sensor
mm-hmm.
in some ways, right? So a lot of those speed booster or focal reducers don't have enough space because you have a bunch of optics that take up room behind the lens before the sensor.
Mm-hmm.
But we do know that there are some people that are working on, for instance, an RF to PL mount speed booster that will work with the Mercury series lenses without a problem. So I can't spill the beans on who that is, but we've seen a working prototype and it was really cool. So knock on wood, hopefully later this year we'll see more and more PL to mirrorless camera focal reducers that do work with the Mercury series and the Orion series lenses. Hope to share that with you soon. Fingers crossed.
Keep watching the hours.
And if you have requests for guests that you'd like to see on the stream with us, let us know. Huge shout out to Obi for getting the in-stream YOLO live box working today. So you're seeing an actual direct feed on Instagram through our mini LF that Matt's operating here. Were there any questions from the audience that we want to answer? And then we can also get some questions from Oksana.
We had a question of, can you swap the PL to EF on the Mercury's like the Orion?
Great question. So as Matt just said, can you swap the PL mount to the EF mount on a Mercury lens? Unfortunately, no, you cannot. Let us know what camera you're using that's EF mount only, and we can try to help provide guidance. Some of the ones that are easy to convert that people don't often think of are things like the Blackmagic 12K, the 4.6K. Those have native PL mounts that you can swap onto the camera body and then check your back focus. And then there are third-party mounts for things like the Pocket 6K Pro and the Pocket 6K. Things like a Canon C200, there's a Canon native adapter, and there's a third-party native adapter that will let you put a PL mount on those camera bodies. So we would advise you to convert those cameras either permanently or temporarily to PL mount to use with the Mercury series lenses. In the long run, it's just a much more robust mount, and it's really great for anamorphic because you have it keyed properly in the mount itself. Whereas with an EF mount, it's hard to make sure that the alignment is correct because you have to have your horizon, or azimuth as some people call it, perfectly level because you have those cylindrical optics that are creating the anamorphic performance of the lens. Any other questions, Matt? Or Obi?
Yeah. When will the optics be available in Europe?
When will the Mercury optics be available in Europe? So we're taking pre-orders now on the Mercury series. Orion series lenses are available in inventory and shipping now. So if you want an Orion, just email info@atlaslensco.com. Hopefully some of our great experienced specialists and sales team like Oksana and DeSalle will get back to you soon about your order. And the Mercury series lenses will be shipping later this year. We're targeting late summer to begin shipments for the people who have put in their pre-orders the earliest, and we're excited to deliver these. So we're working hard to make them as quickly as we possibly can and get them out to you.
Do you do custom colored lens housing?
We have a question from IG Live. Do you do custom colored lens housing? Email us at info@atlaslensco.com. Let us know what your requirements are. We're working on direct customization to provide you the type of lens that you'd want to do. We're not doing any customization for Orions, for Mercury lenses, because the Mercury lenses aren't shipping yet. But for Orions, if you do have custom desires for your lenses, we can offer just-in-time tuning and adjustments. That's something that we did for Lena Sandgren for the film Babylon, and it's something that we're growing and expanding our capacity and capability. And so if there's things that you need and want in terms of customized Orion lenses or customized Orion Series Silver Edition, let us know. We'll do our best to help you.
What about the cases? Single cases options or 3-case options with the Mercury series?
So for the Mercury series, we haven't started shipping the lenses yet, but we will be, prior to release and shipment, rolling out all the case options. We're going to have single lens cases available in both IP67 and ATA case, flight case styles, as well as 3-lens cases and more. So be on the lookout. Just before we start shipping the lenses, case options will be available in the web store, and we'll be able to answer direct questions about the ATA cases and the IP67 plastic style, Peli style cases.
Yeah, so if you have an order already, and we will reach out before your order ships, and we'll offer case options. You'll be able to add it to your order, and it will ship with the lens.
How about the Sony FX9 with PL mount adapter?
Sony FX9 with a PL mount adapter is fantastic with both the Orion series lenses and the Mercury series lenses. So our good friend Chapin Hall, who's actually, believe it or not, Atlas customer number 1, the very first person to ever order Orion series lenses. Thank you, Chapin. Great filmmaker. If you haven't seen his film Every Day in Kaimakui, I'm probably saying that wrong. Bad, Dan. Check out his film Every Day in Kaimakui, and he used the Sony FX9 to film that movie. And he did something really interesting. He did a format that we call Atlas scope, where you take your camera body, rotate it 90 degrees so that the sensor is taller rather than wider, and then with the anamorphic 2x ratio, it stretches back out to be a square format. So this is a really cool way. We have a white paper that's available. If you want to know more about Atlas Scope and the process that Chapin used to film Every Day in Kaimakui, email us at info@atlaslensco.com. And probably soon on one of these live streams, we will do an Atlas Scope stream so you can see what that looks like firsthand. Otherwise, stop by our Glendale, California headquarters any Wednesday, and we'll give you a hands-on demonstration experience with the Atlas Scope format with the camera body rotated 90 degrees, giving you a square format as your recording master. And yeah, Chapin used the FX9 with a PL mount adapter with the Orion series, and Chapin is currently shooting a film in Hawaii now using both the Orion series and some prototype Mercury series lenses. So be on the lookout. Amazing filmmaker, amazing team he works with. Can't wait to see his next film.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Every Day in Kaimakui is really cool too because it's about skateboarders and skate culture, which is something that I grew up with, and we try to call back to that once in a while when we can. So, huge shout out to the people at Warble. Also, we love working with the Warble crew.
Yeah.
We did that film with them a couple years back called The Gang's All Here. That's just like a great summer bop. And people like Cleon Arri and Neighbors Skate Shop. Shout out. Thank you so much. Shout out Spike Jones and Girl Skateboards, Mike Carroll, Chocolate, everyone that's inspired me in skateboarding and filmmaking. I love that we can kind of bring that stuff all back in together and you see people circling around. Sorry for my Band-Aid falling off my nose. I've been doing this Jake Getty's impression from Chinatown for a while now, but it's kind of getting tiring. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks for the questions. Obi, do we have any other questions from IG Live?
Sure. Is there vignetting when used on the Red D Raptor Vista Vision Sensor?
Are we talking about the Komodo, or are we talking about the
Red D Raptor.
the V Raptor with a Mercury or the V Raptor with an Orion?
I am thinking.
I'll answer both. Why not? So on a Red V Raptor, all of the Mercury series lenses will cover those sensors edge to edge with no vignetting. If you want to use the V Raptor sensor with an Orion series lens, you can use most of them in the 8K 6:5 aspect ratio of recording for a 2:4:0 to 1 delivery with a minor bit of corner darkening or vignetting. If you want to be vignette free, just shoot 7K 6:5 on the V Raptor sensor. And you can also choose to use something like our 1.4 times or 1.6 times expander and extender products, which will allow all of the Orion series lenses to cover that sensor edge to edge. And what's interesting is that that's a basically 1.9 to 1, almost 2 to 1 aspect ratio sensor. If you're covering edge to edge, it gives you a 4 to 1 delivery. So if you're looking to do something ultra wide, that's a really cool and interesting way of doing that with an Orion. You can basically deliver something that's like ultra wide signage or an ultra panoramic view. So, we like to say you have the freedom to make whatever aspect ratios you want in our modern era. Anamorphic is just another tool in the toolkit to do that. And an Orion series lens or Mercury series lens becomes a great addition to your toolkit in terms of making that possible. So hopefully that answers your question directly. If there's a test you'd like us to shoot for you and send you the footage, let us know. We will do that. And otherwise, we invite you down to our Glendale, California headquarters anytime. Any other questions from Instagram Live? Otherwise, we're probably going to pop off here in a minute. Do you have any other questions, Matt or Oksana? I think you had like one or two more, right? And then we'll wrap it up here.
I know we're trying to keep this live not very long. So last question, and I will leave you alone. So the question about filters, we often ask people what people ask us, what's the front diameter of the Mercury series, and is it all across the series?
Great question. So to reiterate Oksana's question, the front outer diameter of all Mercury series lenses is 95 millimeters. So if you want to use a clamp-on matte box or a clamp-on accessory, 95 is the outer diameter for all Mercury series lenses that we're releasing as of now. And the inner diameter for a filter thread is 86 millimeter diameter. So if you want to use a screw-in filter, 86 is your filter size. If you want to use an outer diameter clamp, a 95 millimeter clamp on back or donut is your best option. And for the Orion series, all the Orions 32 through 100 millimeter are 114 millimeter outer diameter. The 40 and above have a 105 millimeter screw-in thread. And then the 21 and 25 millimeter have a 136 millimeter outer diameter. So you'll probably want to get a 6x6 matte box or find some other solutions to put filters on those because they're big.
That's why I appreciate you so much, because you really take your time to answer every question so thoroughly. Thank you. Yes, that's thanks for mentioning
That's because
outer
we have
and
great.
inner diameter. That's
It's because we have great people like you here, working with us. So without
you.
without our team, Atlas would not be what it is. So grateful to everyone here, and
We have
grateful to
pretty
all of you
amazing
out there for
team.
checking out the video. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, or hopefully we'll see you here in Glendale, California tomorrow. All right, have a great day.
Have a great day and happy Pie Day. Don't forget to have your piece of pie.